Welcome to this analysis. Imagine for a second that every single day, literal trillions of dollars are flowing through a global financial system. We're talking about money that shifts the wealth of entire nations, dictates how markets react, and completely alters corporate valuations in just a matter of hours. And the craziest part? It's all being orchestrated in the background by a quiet, unseen giant. Today, we're examining an entity that operates almost entirely behind the scenes, yet wields a level of influence that is honestly difficult to even comprehend.
So what if one company had direct influence over Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and thousands of other major corporations? It sounds exactly like the plot of a financial thriller, right? We all tend to view these massive tech titans as the undisputed rulers of the modern economy. But there is a very silent, very powerful force sitting right above them.
That force is BlackRock. Now, they don't manufacture your smartphone. They don't build electric cars. They definitely don't operate the social media platforms you're scrolling through every day. Instead, they deal in the absolute ultimate raw material, global wealth. BlackRock currently manages more money than the entire economic output of nearly every country on Earth. So how on earth did a single investment company become this incredibly influential? And why do so many people believe it quietly shapes our global economy?
Okay, let's dive into this. Chapter 1. A failure that changed everything.
Today, Larry Fink is undoubtedly one of the most powerful and recognized figures in global finance, the primary mastermind behind BlackRock. But his career didn't just launch straight into the stratosphere. Actually, scratch that. It almost ended before it truly began. Negative $100 million. Let that number truly sink in for a second. Back in the 1980s, while working at a very prominent investment bank, Fink made a series of highly confident but ultimately incorrect predictions about interest rates. The market moved sharply against him, and the result was absolutely devastating. His team lost nearly $100 million. For almost anyone else on Wall Street, a mistake of that sheer magnitude would be a sudden, permanent, career-ending disaster.
But instead of just walking away in total defeat, this catastrophic failure became his defining lesson. Fink realized that simply focusing on making money just wasn't enough. Understanding, anticipating, and fiercely controlling financial risk was actually even more important than the pursuit of pure profit. This deeply painful realization wouldn't just salvage his career. It would become the absolute bedrock for an empire that didn't even exist yet.
Chapter 2. Building something different. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they stood out. In 1988, armed with this profound lesson in risk management, Larry Fink and 7 partners stepped out on their own to found BlackRock. Now, they were entering a highly crowded, fiercely competitive Wall Street environment, but they were determined to play a completely different game. Their core mission was simple but completely revolutionary for that era: help investors protect their money while achieving long-term growth. Unlike a lot of the really aggressive investment firms of the late 80s that focused on taking massive, speculative gambles, BlackRock focused relentlessly on managing and mitigating risk. They essentially positioned themselves as the safe harbor in the incredibly stormy seas of global finance.
And the strategy worked flawlessly. Massive institutions completely flocked to this incredibly disciplined approach. We're talking large pension funds trusting the company to safeguard retirements, insurance companies became major clients, prestigious universities started investing their critical endowments through BlackRock, even national governments began working directly with the firm. Year after year, enormous waves of capital just flowed into the company. And you know how it goes in the financial world. With more money comes greater, undeniable influence. The snowball was rolling, and it was gaining some serious momentum.
Chapter 3. The deal that changed everything.
So for years, BlackRock is growing steadily and impressively. But then comes the year 2009. The world is desperately trying to recover from the biggest financial crisis since the Great Depression. While other firms were out there panicking, consolidating, or retreating, BlackRock saw a historic, once-in-a-generation opportunity to capitalize on the market's restructuring. They executed one of the most consequential acquisitions in financial history by purchasing Barclays Global Investors. Most importantly, within that deal, they acquired iShares, which was one of the world's absolute largest exchange-traded fund, or ETF, businesses. Literally overnight, in the blink of an eye, BlackRock transformed into the largest asset manager in the entire world. From that point forward, their growth didn't just continue, it exploded faster than anyone thought possible.
Leading us right to this staggering number today: $10 trillion. It is almost impossible for the human brain to truly wrap around a figure with that many zeros. To put it into perspective for you, if BlackRock were a sovereign country, its managed assets would rival the total economic output of the top economies on the planet.
They are managing $10 trillion on behalf of their clients. But it's exactly here, at this unprecedented, mind-boggling scale, where so many people begin to totally misunderstand how this company actually operates.
Chapter 4. Does BlackRock own the world? So, the crucial point is separating the rumors from the reality here. If you search online, you will inevitably stumble upon countless viral videos and widespread claims insisting that BlackRock secretly owns practically every major corporation on Earth. As an objective analysis of the facts, we have to clear this up. The common myth asserts that BlackRock, the corporate entity itself, personally owns the lion's share of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and others, effectively controlling them as their own property. The reality is quite different. BlackRock manages investment funds that own these shares on behalf of millions of everyday investors. They are an asset management firm, guys, not an outright corporate owner.
Let's humanize this $10 trillion for a second. Whose wealth actually is this? It's not just a boardroom full of billionaires. Those investors include your local retirement funds. It is literally the life savings of teachers and doctors, its government pension systems, university endowments, insurance policies, and just millions of ordinary people who are simply trying to invest for a secure future. When BlackRock buys shares in a major tech company, they are mostly acting as a conduit, a manager, for this vast collective pool of everyday wealth.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding exactly how that dynamic creates real-world power. BlackRock doesn't personally own the money, sure, but because they are the ones directing, voting, and managing such an unimaginable pool of capital, their funds inevitably become the largest shareholders in major corporations across the globe. This grants them a profoundly loud voice. Influence is for sure not the exact same thing as ownership, but practically speaking, when the manager of $10 trillion speaks, CEOs, corporate boards, and entire governments are forced to sit down and pay very close attention.
Chapter 5. The ultimate source of power.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because everything we've discussed so far, the strategic acquisitions, the strict risk management, those massive pools of client wealth, that is merely the visible surface of this financial giant. What if BlackRock's greatest source of power isn't actually the sheer volume of money it manages at all? What if their true ultimate leverage comes from a piece of technology that the vast majority of the public has never even heard of? We are talking about a computing system so exceptionally advanced and so deeply embedded that rival banks, competing financial institutions, and global governments rely on it every single day just to keep the world economy functioning.
Aladdin. We've seen how BlackRock grew from a devastating $100 million failure into a $10 trillion giant, managing the world's wealth. But if a single technological system is what truly holds this entire global network together, who really controls the future of our economy?